Welcome back to my channel. Today, we are peeling back the final layer of a collapsing empire, an empire that once paraded itself as a symbol of unity, faith, and family, but now stands exposed as a house of shadows built on manipulation, neglect, and a hierarchy so twisted it shocks even longtime viewers. Because what if I told you the cameras have only ever shown us the surface? What if every awkward pause, every suspicious excuse, every tear we saw on screen was only the tip of something far more disturbing? For years, we've watched Kody Brown make questionable decisions, flip-flop his loyalties, and slowly dismantle the very family he claimed God asked him to build. But new insider theories suggest the downfall isn't just emotional or financial. It may be rooted in medical negligence, psychological warfare, and a financial structure that suspiciously funnels resources toward one woman, Robyn Brown. And the contrast between how he treats his biological children and how he treats Robyn's? It isn't favoritism anymore. It's a smoking gun. Tonight, we are tearing the veil off the Brown family dynamic, dragging into the light the allegations, the inconsistencies, and the psychological games TLC avoids like the plague. We're asking the questions the network refuses to touch. Did Kody deliberately ignore the physical agony of his own biological children? Is there a hidden financial strategy designed to leave Christine, Janelle, and their kids with nothing? And does Gwen Brown hold the final, explosive truth capable of burning this entire facade to the ground? You think you know the story. But trust me, the truth is far more terrifying. Before we dive into this deep, dark rabbit hole of secrets and manipulation, make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and smash that like button so these investigations reach the people who deserve to know what's really going on behind the carefully scripted TLC curtain. Alright, it's time. The medical neglect theory, a tale of two daughters. Let's begin with the accusation that set the entire fandom on fire, the one circulating quietly in insider groups and fan forums for months. Medical neglect versus psychological abuse. Because what we saw with Isabel Brown wasn't a storyline. It was a tragedy. This young girl wasn't dealing with a minor ache or a mild condition. She was fighting scoliosis, so severe it was literally crushing her from the inside. Breath by breath, day by day. We watched her endure endless doctor appointments, physical anguish that left her in tears, and the looming terror of a life-altering spinal surgery. And when the moment finally arrived, a high-risk surgery across the country where she would wake up in agonizing pain, where was her father? Nowhere. Kody Brown claimed COVID protocols. He claimed travel restrictions. He claimed concern. But what he didn't claim was his daughter. He sent Isabel into a terrifying, body-altering surgery without her father's hand to hold. Without reassurance. Without presence. Christine stood by her alone because the man who should have been there chose not to be. Now freeze that image in your mind. Isabel. Hospital bed. Spine reconstructed. Tears, confusion, abandonment. Now cut sharply, violently, to the footage of Aurora, Robyn's daughter. The medical crisis? Ear piercing. A rite of passage, yes, but a cosmetic, non-essential procedure. Yet there stood Kody, masked up, trembling with emotion, offering full physical and emotional support, acting as though she were undergoing open-heart surgery. The difference is nauseating. But here's where the narrative darkens. This is not just favoritism. Not according to insiders. Not according to the psychology experts fans have cited. This may have been punishment. The theory suggests Kody intentionally withheld his presence from Isabel's surgery, not because of COVID, but because Christine and her kids were no longer in his inner circle. Because refusing to show up was a message. You are no longer a priority. You no longer matter. By watching Aurora cry over ear piercing while ignoring his biological daughter's spine being rebuilt, Kody didn't just show bias. He established a twisted hierarchy. If you live in Robyn's home, your pain is sacred. If you live outside of it, your suffering is an inconvenience. This is psychological damage that leaves lasting scars. This is emotional neglect that borders on abuse. When a father cries over a pierced ear but remains stoic about a child's shattered spine, he isn't being inconsistent. He is being deliberate. Because that kind of contrast doesn't happen by accident. It happens when a man has lost his moral compass and replaced it with an obsession. An obsession with control, with image, with Robyn. And every child outside that bubble, their collateral damage. Now let's dive into the second, and perhaps the most legally explosive, theory circling the Brown family, the money trail. Because if Kody Brown is only giving his emotional loyalty to Robyn's children, then we need to ask the question that makes this entire story combust. Is he funneling the family's money into Robyn's household too?
This isn't gossip.
This isn't fan speculation. This is a pattern, and the evidence is sitting in plain sight. The financial exposé. Who did the money really belong to? First, let's talk Janelle Brown, a woman who has carried this family's finances on her back for decades. She worked non-stop. She budgeted. She strategized. She made the moves that kept the entire polygamous system functioning. And yet, where did she end up? Not in a home she built. Not in a property she owned. Not in the security she earned. No, she ended up living in an RV. Not because she wanted a rustic adventure. Not because she dreamed of tiny home living, but because after 30 years of contributing financially, she had no assets in her own name.
None.
Meanwhile, Christine had to sell her house just to break free. Mary had to keep her entire B&B afloat by herself because no one offered help. Not emotional, not financial. Every single wife outside of Robyn's orbit had to hustle, scrape, and survive independently. But up on the hill, in the largest house the family has ever owned, surrounded by custom decor, pricey artwork, and luxuries no one else had access to, there sit Kody and Robyn Brown, living like royalty on a family budget that supposedly struggles. Something isn't adding up. The Browns' primary income source has always been one thing: TLC checks.
The show.
The public humiliation. The endless drama that the wives and children had to live through. And for years, the agreement was clear. All income goes into one family pot. A shared fund. A communal financial system to support every wife, every child, every home. But now, whispers are turning into rumors. Rumors into insider claims. And those claims are pointing toward one shocking theory. The family pot is no longer a family pot at all. It's the Robyn and Kody pot. Think about it. Robyn has never held a traditional job during her entire time on the show. Her only business, My Sister Wife's Closet, drained money and never turned a significant profit. The other wives had to support that failing business financially. Yet she lives in the biggest house, with the most stability, with the most security, with the most comfort. The luxury does not match the income she personally contributes. So where is the money coming from? Insiders claim that Robyn may have helped reorganize the family finances, making sure that the bulk of the TLC checks and family funds funnel directly into accounts controlled by her and Kody alone. If true, this would mean that the other wives spent years on reality TV, airing their trauma, sacrificing their dignity, and raising 18 children, only to be financially drained in the end. The inheritance question that exposed everything. Remember the scene when Janelle confronted Kody about having nothing to leave her children? She was calm. She was rational. She was asking a fair question that any parent would ask. And Kody? He erupted. Defensive. Agitated. Angry.
Why?
People don't get defensive about money unless the money is missing, mismanaged, or sitting somewhere it shouldn't be. And that, right there, is where fans believe the truth slipped out. Because if the TLC money, the money earned through the collective suffering of the entire family, was quietly being redirected to fund Robyn's mansion, Robyn's lifestyle, and Robyn's children, then what we're witnessing isn't just favoritism. It's financial infidelity. It's betrayal at the deepest level. It's a man funneling the family's sacrifices into one household and letting everyone else fend for scraps. The humiliation of the show, the emotional labor of the wives, the chaos Kody caused and exploited, all of it might have been feeding one life of luxury, Robyn's. While Janelle stands on that empty patch of dirt at Coyote Pass, sketching out the dream of a tiny casita just big enough to survive in, we have to confront a brutal truth. This isn't just unfair. This isn't just favoritism. This is financial theft wrapped in the disguise of plural marriage. Because the question is no longer, why didn't Janelle get her fair share? The real question, the one that sends shockwaves through the entire Sister Wives fandom, is this: did Robyn enter this family for spiritual unity or for financial conquest? And the deeper we dig, the more it feels like we're staring at a master plan, one where Robyn positions herself not as the fourth wife, but as the sole surviving queen of the Brown Empire. A plan where the endgame is clear. When the show ends, when the checks stop rolling, when the lights go out, Robyn is the only one left with a full bank account. The lifestyle discrepancy is so massive, so blatant, so unapologetic that it's impossible to chalk it up to coincidence. It looks calculated, strategic,
Cold.
a deliberate siphoning of resources from the women who built this family for decades, leaving them with nothing but memories, unpaid debts, and emotional scars. Fire, but the money and medical choices? That's only the surface. Because the third theory, the one that chills people to the core, goes far beyond finances or favoritism. It enters the territory of mind control. Not in a sci-fi sense, but in the darkest way possible. Religious manipulation, psychological conditioning, spiritual brainwashing. The Brown family once subscribed to a strict fundamentalist interpretation of Mormonism. In that world, one belief holds enormous power. Some children are righteous. Some are fallen. And a father's celestial legacy depends on which ones he chooses to shepherd. Now look at the pattern. Robyn has slowly constructed a fortress around her 5 children: Dayton, Aurora, Brianna, Solomon, and Ariella. A wall so high and so thick that even the other Brown siblings can barely get near them. The official narrative is always the same. Oh, we're protecting them. Oh, they're too tender-hearted. Oh, they can't handle the drama. Oh, COVID safety. But what if this protection is a cover story? What if the real goal is to create a pure, isolated, untouched version of a celestial family, one unpolluted by the rebellious influence of the older Brown kids? Because when you look at the older children, one thing becomes clear. Leon transitioned and openly rejected parts of the faith. Gwendlyn is queer, outspoken, and publicly challenges family teachings. Garrison and Gabriel became vocal critics of Cody's leadership. Even Paydon and Aspen have distanced themselves from the religion. To a fundamentalist mindset, these children have strayed. They are lost. They represent a threat to the spiritual story Kody and Robyn want to preserve. Which leads us to the disturbing theory. Robyn doesn't see her kids as merely younger or more sensitive. She sees them as the chosen ones. The last hope for Cody's eternal family. The only children still pure enough for the celestial kingdom. And her isolation of them? Her refusal to let them bond with the others? Her insistence that they stay under her roof, under her rules, away from the older siblings? According to insiders, it's not about viruses. It's about control. It's about faith. It's about building a separate, superior family in the shadows of the old one. She isn't keeping her kids tucked away behind locked doors and filtered narratives because of illness or anxiety or tender hearts. No, according to insiders, she's doing it because she believes the other Brown siblings are a spiritual contamination. Let that sink in. This isn't protection. This is isolation. This is indoctrination. This is the textbook blueprint of cult dynamics. Control the environment. Control the information. Control the mind. Even when the so-called outsiders are the children's own flesh and blood. By keeping Dayton, Aurora, and Brianna cloistered in her home well into adulthood, long past the age when most young adults crave independence, Robyn isn't just sheltering them. She is controlling the flow of influence, preventing them from forming genuine, unfiltered relationships with the rest of the Brown brood, especially the ones who dared to rebel. Ask yourself, who benefits from this isolation? Who gains more loyalty the fewer voices her children hear? And then consider this chilling possibility. Has Robyn been whispering in Cody's ear that his other children, the ones who question him, the ones with their own minds, are spiritually dangerous? It would explain everything. It would explain the simmering hatred Cody suddenly developed for his older sons. It would explain why he speaks about Gabriel and Garrison with resentment instead of love. It would explain why he dismisses Leon, why he disregards Gwen, why he distances himself from every child who dares to step outside the script. Because under Robyn's influence, Cody no longer sees them as his children. He sees them as threats. Threats to the new kingdom he's building. Threats to the purity of the only family he now acknowledges, Robyn's. This is why the separation in the family feels so deep, so cold, so irreversible. It's not about houses or estates or who lives in which cul-de-sac. It's a spiritual purge, a cleansing of the corrupted children to create a smaller, tighter, more obedient unit where Robyn reigns as the single mother figure and her children are the only ones who matter. In this dark interpretation, Robyn isn't just dismantling the old family, she's rewriting history. Erasing Christine, erasing Janelle, erasing Mary, erasing decades of love, sacrifice, and shared struggle in the name of religious righteousness. This theory suggests that what we see on TLC isn't a family drama. It's a spiritual war zone, a battleground for the souls of these children. Fire, and into this battleground steps someone unexpected, Gwen Brown. But not as a warrior in shining armor. Not as the heroine fans want her to be. No. According to some theories, Gwen is playing a far more dangerous, far more calculated game. Gwen has become a fan favorite for her brutal honesty, her unfiltered commentary, her willingness to call out the hypocrisy she grew up around. But what if that's not the whole story? What if Gwendlyn's YouTube channel isn't just about truth-telling, but a form of high-stakes leverage? Think about the position Kody and Robyn are in. They are desperate to control the narrative. Desperate to look righteous. Desperate to appear like the victims of their rebellious children.
But Gwen?
Gwen holds the matchbook. Gwen holds the receipts. Gwen lived through the silent arguments, the whispered threats, the financial secrets, the manipulations the cameras never caught. Every time she uploads a video, every time she answers a question, every time she mentions her father's name, Kody and Robyn collectively stop breathing. Because she can burn their entire kingdom down with a single sentence. And this is where the theory takes a sharp, controversial turn. Is Gwen using her platform not just to express her truth, but to pressure her father? To force his hand? To secure benefits, apologies, or even financial compensation? Look closely at the timing of her posts. The spikes in her commentary. The moment she chooses to speak, and the moments she suddenly goes silent. According to some observers, it looks less like random honesty and more like a strategic form of personal power. She drops hints. She confirms rumors. She laughs at her father's most humiliating moments like she's simply reacting, but anyone paying attention can see there's something sharper, something far more calculated happening beneath the jokes. Because the real question isn't what Gwendlyn says. It's what she doesn't say. Does she hold back the truly explosive information, the kind that could end Kody Brown's public persona in a single upload? Is she sitting on a vault of secrets, a metaphorical dead man's switch, silently dangling it over Kody's head? Pay for my tuition. Help me out when I need it. Don't cut me off, because if you do, I will tell the world exactly what happened on that date you're terrified people will remember. This isn't petty revenge. This is survival. If Kody really has cut her off financially, as many theories suggest, then Gwendlyn is using the only currency she has left. Information. Her Patreon? Her YouTube channel? People think she created them for fun, for commentary, for community. But to those watching closely, it looks like part of an entire ecosystem built around the threat of exposure. She doesn't need to release the nuclear truth. She just needs Kody to believe she could. And suddenly, Gwendlyn shifts from rebellious daughter to something far more powerful, a player in the psychological chess game of the Brown family. She is no longer passive, no longer a background character. She is a strategist holding her father's reputation by a string. It turns every social media post into a negotiation, every casual remark into a warning shot, every half smile into a reminder. I know what you did. Kody knows she can destroy him, What's left of him, with a single, unfiltered video. One honest confession, and the house of cards collapses. So what does he do? Does he quietly pay up? Does he disappear and hope she forgets? Or does he spiral deeper into paranoia, convince his own children have become his enemies? Either way, Gwendlyn sits in an unexpected position of power. Controversial, yes, but undeniably real. She is using the very fame her father and stepmother crave as a weapon against them. But while Gwendlyn fights with information, Robyn fights with psychology. And that leads us to the darkest chapter of all, parental alienation. Brown family edition in the outside world. Parental alienation describes a parent poisoning a child against another parent. But inside the Brown family, we are witnessing something even more disturbing, a wife manipulating a father into turning against his own children. For years, viewers noticed the pattern. Cody's affection rose and fell not based on his children's behavior, but on which wife they came from. But with Robyn, this emotional shift transformed into something methodical. Whenever an older child cried out, expressed frustration, or begged Cody to listen, Robyn was always there, reinforcing his victimhood, validating his paranoia. When Gabriel broke down, when Garrison confronted him, when the boys said, "Dad, you hurt us?" Did Robyn encourage compassion? Accountability? Healing? Never. The narrative from Robyn's household was always the same. They're being disrespectful. They're unsafe. They're scary. They're attacking your leadership. Their pain became rebellion. Their truth became disrespect. Their heartbreak became proof of disloyalty. And this, right here, is how you weaponize a narcissist. Robyn became Cody's echo chamber, repeating his fears back to him even louder. "You're right, Cody. They don't respect you. You shouldn't have to put up with this. You deserve loyalty, unconditional loyalty." Drop by drop, year after year, that poison rewired Cody's mind. Today, he no longer sees relationships with his sons as bonds of love. He sees them as loyalty tests. If you're not loyal to Robyn, you're not loyal to him. If you don't obey Robyn, you don't deserve Cody. And that's the genius, the cruelty, of Robyn's manipulation. She doesn't have to forbid him from seeing his kids. She doesn't have to say, "Don't visit them." All she has to do is make him feel like seeing them is painful, uncomfortable, disrespectful, unsafe. A mother can alienate a child, but a clever wife, she can alienate a father. And that may be the most sinister chapter of all. She has built a psychological environment so controlled, so carefully engineered, that Cody feels emotionally safe only with her and her children. The result? A father who now looks at his own flesh and blood, boys he once raised, wrestled with, laughed with, and loved, and sees enemies instead of sons. This isn't the natural drifting of a broken family. This is a systematic dismantling of paternal bonds, orchestrated through a decade-long whisper campaign. And it transforms Robyn from favorite wife into something far more dangerous, a psychological operator who successfully isolated a father from 18 members of his own family to secure her place at the top. But to understand the monster Cody Brown has become today, we have to look backward, at the destruction he left in the past. Because buried under years of TLC editing and soft-focus family scenes lies the mystery the network has tried hardest to bury. It's time to talk about the erasure of David Jessop, Robyn's first husband. The disappearing father. The mystery of the missing father. Think back to the adoption storyline. TLC framed it as a beautiful moment, a fairy tale ending. Cody stepping up, adopting Dayton, Aurora, and Brianna to officially unite the family. Heartwarming on the surface. But beneath that polished narrative lies something disturbing. In the United States, terminating a biological father's parental rights is incredibly difficult. Courts do not hand that out like candy. It usually requires severe abuse, long-term abandonment, or incarceration. Yet audiences were led to believe that David Jessop, a man living nearby, known to have visitation, just calmly and willingly signed away his own children to Cody Brown. It doesn't add up. And the insider theory is chilling. Did Kody and Robyn run a coordinated campaign to push this man out of his children's lives entirely? Was there a payoff? Did Kody use TLC money meant for all the Brown children, to buy David out? Or something darker? Did Kody threaten a legal war he knew David couldn't financially survive? Did he weaponize his public persona, his resources, and his spiritual authority to intimidate the man into surrender? Because this theory reframes everything. Kody wasn't adopting children out of love. He was conquering territory, erasing a rival father to rewrite the family narrative around himself. If he could bulldoze another man's parental rights, if he could wipe a father out of existence and make it look like a fairy tale, then is it any surprise he believed he could bulldoze Christine and Janelle, and even his own sons? The disappearance of David Jessop is the blueprint for Kody's operating system. Remove anyone who challenges him. Rewrite the story. Cast himself as the hero. And the world bought it. But there is one person who saw everything with crystal clarity, and their silence has become the most haunting clue of all. The deafening silence of Leon Brown for years. Leon, formerly known as Mariah, was the golden child of the faith. The polygamy loyalist. The future torchbearer of the Brown legacy. The child who idolized Kody most. And now Leon is gone. Not just physically missing from the show, but spiritually, emotionally, permanently detached from the Kody, Robyn universe. Most people chalk it up to Leon's transition and the family's conservative values. Yes, that is a major factor. But according to insiders, that goes deeper. Much deeper. Leon is an observer. Leon lived in the house. Leon saw the cracks before anyone else did. The theory is this. Leon didn't leave because of identity. Leon left because of what they witnessed. Their silence isn't indifference. It is protest. Did Leon see verbal abuse directed at Mary? Did they witness financial manipulation behind the scenes? Did they overhear the cruel things Kody and Robyn said about the other wives when the cameras weren't rolling? There is a belief among insiders that Leon may know the darkest truth of all, something so devastating they chose to walk away forever. Unlike Gwen, who fights with humor and commentary, Leon fights with absence. They have ghosted the entire narrative. They refuse to film, refuse to speak, refuse to be a pawn in Kody and Robyn's carefully controlled story. This is how someone escapes a cult. Leon stripped Kody of his favorite weapon, attention. It forces us to ask a terrifying question. What did Leon see that was so unforgivable they essentially orphaned themselves from their father? Because if Leon ran to save themselves, what does that say about the environment they left behind? The imploding autocracy tie all the threads together. Isabel's medical neglect, suspicious finances, the psychological control over Robyn's kids, Gwen's information warfare, the alienation of the sons, the erasure of David Jessop, Leon's silent escape. You don't get a TV drama. You get a portrait of an imploding autocracy. A man convinced he could control every dollar, dictate every emotional truth, and reshape the reality of more than 20 people through sheer ego and spiritual authority. Kody sacrificed everything to maintain the illusion of control. He sacrificed Isabel's comfort. He sacrificed Janelle's future. He sacrificed his relationship with Garrison and Gabriel. He sacrificed the truth itself. And now, we are witnessing the collapse in real time. But here's the twist. This story isn't ending. It's just beginning. As the money dries up, as the NDAs expire, as the children become adults with their own platforms, the floodgates are going to explode wide open. Gwen is only step one. Paydon has started talking. And the quiet ones? They're beginning to whisper. We are standing at the edge of the biggest reality TV exposure in history, and Kody and Robyn Brown know it. They are huddled in that mansion, terrified of the next leak. Will it be proof of financial misconduct? A recording of verbal abuse? David Jessop finally speaking? The Brown Empire isn't just cracking, it's burning. And we are here to watch every flame. This isn't just bad behavior. This is a legacy of destruction. And on this channel, we document every lie as it falls.